For this morning, I'd like to introduce you Diane Lidstone. Now, while marketing overwhelms and hustles are common problems for many entrepreneurs, Diane Lidstone teaches, coaches, trainers, and other service professionals simplified marketing strategies to win more profitable clients and work less. I like that. During her 30 years as an entrepreneur, she's built several very profitable businesses, including a typing service when that was a thing.
Oh, wow.
I remember taking typing in high school.
Me too.
I'm like, oh my gosh, typing service. Like, I gotta find out more
way
about
back
that.
then, eh?
Yeah. Widely successful retail store, 2 profitable networking marketing businesses, all while being a full-time mom. Wow. Now, she's also the author of Shift into Rich, Navigate the 9 Roadblocks to Small Business Success. She is the founder of Shift Events, held twice a year in Ottawa. Currently, she lives in Brockville, Ontario, so she drove all the way with her husband and best walking buddy, Bella. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Diane.
Thank you, JJ. Welcome and good morning, everyone. All right, just get things organized here. Perfect, no problem. So, we're all entrepreneurs, yes? Yes. Thank you. Good. As entrepreneurs, we are all busy. We get up in the morning and we have a list of things to do a mile long. We have, research. We have content writing. We have phone calls to make. We have, going to networking events. We have working with even clients. So, doing all that, do we know whether we are being busy or are we being profitable? So that's what we're going to talk about this morning. And this is going to be a very interactive. So I'm going to invite you now to find, there's some pieces of white paper or your own paper and a pen. And I'd like you to think about what you did yesterday in your business. I'd like you to think about when you walked into the office in the morning, what did you do? So I'd like you to list maybe 5 to 10 activities that you actually did yesterday. And it doesn't have to be a great, paragraph, just I made phone calls, I worked with clients, I went to networking, whatever it was. Now there should be some white paper. Did you find something? Here.
Yep.
There we are. Anybody else? Good. Okay, list 5 to 10 activities that you did yesterday or the day before in your business. JJ, could you give me like a 10-minute warning?
From now till?
No. When I'm supposed to stop.
Yes.
I'd like a, so, okay? Perfect. All right, how are we doing? Everybody got, a couple of things that they've written down? Perfect. Now you're just gonna put that piece of paper away. We're not gonna look at it right now. But I wanted you to, before we got into our discussion this morning, just jot those things down. The thing is that, as I said before, we're busy, but are we productive? Are we profitable? And what I've noticed in the 30-odd years that I have been an entrepreneur, that there are basically 3 types of entrepreneurial activity. And the idea is, if we do all these activities right, we want to achieve some level of quality of life or success, however you define that for you, because everybody has their own idea of what success means. Now what I've come to see is that there's this level of activity that I call hustle. And you know you're in hustle when it sounds something like this. Well, I need a website, so I need a blog. If I need a blog, I need to post it on LinkedIn. I need to post it on LinkedIn. Well, that means I have to go to Facebook. Facebook, that means Facebook ads. Oh, then I have to do webinars, and then I have to do this, and I have to do that, and this, and that, and I'm all over the place. Sound familiar to anybody?
Yeah.
Been there, done that, once or twice? That's what I call hustle. And the problem is that when entrepreneurs are stuck in hustle, as many are, they don't get any traction to move towards this level of success that they want. And hustle is, I see it constantly. There are people who are doing activities all the time. They're really, really busy. They feel overwhelmed. Sometimes it leads to burnout. Sometimes it leads to, oh my God, they've gone into debt, and they just aren't moving their business forward. There's two other kinds of activities. The first one I call CRA. No, it's not the Canada Revenue Agency. CRA means consistently the right activity. So what I mean by that is consistently the right activity for your particular stage of business growth. Now, I'm going to show you this on my grow meter, which looks like a thermometer. And again, don't laugh, I'm not a very good artist. That is a grow meter. And there are 4 stages of business growth, general stages of business growth, and for each stage there are appropriate activities. The first stage down here I call the glorified employee. And at the glorified employee level, and I'm sure we've all been there, we feel like, oh my God, there's so much to learn, there's so much to do, we feel like an employee. We don't feel like we're running our own business. And we're actually building the foundation for our business to grow. But at the beginning, it certainly doesn't feel like that. Appropriate activities for the employee stage are what I call the 3 C's. The first one is clarity. Clarity about your message. How do you communicate what it is that you do? Clarity about your offer, what it is you're going to sell, and clarity about your outreach, how you're going to get out there in the marketplace. So those are the 3, that's the clarity. The second C is cash. We need cash if we're going to be running a business. And too often what I see down here is people focus on activities that are not revenue generating. So we need cash. And the third is we need connections. So we're here this morning to grow our connections. When we're starting out in business, rarely do we have a big audience or a big tribe or a big following. We used to call it a Rolodex. We don't call it that anymore. It's, how big is our email list, that sort of thing. So those are the connections. But there's a whole bunch of things that you don't need. You don't need a fancy 5-page website. You don't need paid traffic. You don't need Facebook ads. You don't need a tagline. You don't need to work in groups. You don't need to do webinars. There's a whole bunch of activities that you don't need to focus on. And if you can imagine, since they're bringing in the food here this morning, it's kind of like going up to the entrepreneurial buffet. And when you know your stage of business growth, instead of looking at that buffet and saying, I've got to have something of everything, if you know it, then you can go, okay, here's the corner that is my stage of business growth. Thank you, I think that's mine. My stage of business growth, and I'll just eat from that corner of the buffet. Okay? So that's stage 1. Stage 2, I call the manager. And at the manager level, just like a manager in a business, you have a team. You're managing, you're delegating things. And so you can move from the employee level to the manager level when you're making money and you have no time to spend it. tough problem to have, right? But that's because there are three things that a manager needs to focus on. One is leverage. So leverage means instead of doing things one-on-one, so instead of perhaps if you're a coach working one-on-one with someone, that means that maybe it's time to shift into groups. The other thing is, if you're going to networking like this, instead of networking and shaking one hand at a time and one hand, you're speaking. And speaking is a form of leveraged activity. What else do we do at the manager level? We have to learn how to delegate. We have to learn how to get things off our plate that are not in our zone of genius. So, you know, how many of you still do your own bookkeeping or, you know, some administrative tasks? Delegating is one of the hardest tasks for entrepreneurs because it's our baby and we want to hold on to it really tightly. Okay? So delegating. And the last is systems. We need to create systems at the manager level so that we can free up more time. The manager level is really about freeing up more time. But still at the manager level, there are things that you don't need to focus on. You don't need to focus on having, you know, I see a lot of people that have multiple things that they sell. Like I'm talking like 10, 6. You only need 3 or so offers. You don't need to focus on having or hosting great big events either. Just keep it simple. So that's the manager. The third state is what I call the CEO level. And at the CEO level, you are truly the visionary for your business. You work more on your business than in your business. This is where it's about creating, so you're the visionary, you're creating a bigger team, and you really truly only work in your zone of genius. The other thing is that you work on is creating a corporate culture. And the problem that CEOs often have is that they have a bigger team, so they need to learn leadership skills. And they're not really, it's something that's new to them. So the problem also with CEOs is they often will go and think, well, I'll just go down here at the employee level and I'll dabble in some of those, you know, those administrative tasks when they should be leaving it to their team members. And last but not least is legacy. And at the legacy level, you're really, it's about leaving a legacy. Money is no longer really the driving force. Here, it's about creating an exit strategy. You know, how you're going to exit your business. It could be about diversification. So there's a coach down in the States that I follow. She has this amazing big coaching business. But because
what kind of business? I'm sorry.
Coaching. Okay. She has this big coaching business, and because she held live events, multi-day live events, she also created an event company. Because she was doing videos and a lot of video production, she created a video production company. So that's what I mean by diversification. And then last but not least, you have to be worried about your competition so that you don't become a version of Blockbuster and disappear. So those are the 4 stages, of business growth. And I just want to share a story about a lady that I met at a networking event a couple of years ago, an event similar to this, and she was telling me how she'd written this best-selling book. And when I first met her, I was really, really impressed. And so we agreed to go and have coffee afterwards. Now, I'm sure you know that when you go to have coffee and you're sort of tete-a-tete with somebody, you learn a little bit more about what the true story is. So, she kind of confessed to me that, yes, she had written a best-selling book, and she had spent the whole year writing a best-selling book, and over $10,000 writing a best-selling book. However, She had no email list, she had no clients, and she had no offers. She was doing an activity at the wrong stage of her business growth. Very, very typical. So, my question to you is, by a show of hands, if you could put down a fork. I don't need to know which stage of business growth you might be at, but are you able to identify which stage of business growth you're at? Yes? Awesome, okay. Second question is, are you at the stage where you want to be? Show of hands. Good, and that's typically the response that I get. You know, one or two kind of puts their hand up, yes, they are where they're at. All right, awesome. The reason for showing you this is, again, so that once you know which stage you're at, you know that there are specific activities that are appropriate for your stage of business growth. And, you know, I'm not going to get into all the different activities, but that's something I can do at a different time. So these poor people who are stuck down here in hustle, if they knew what activities to focus on, they wouldn't be stuck here in hustle. Now you notice I've left this big blank area. And this is a type of activity, and I call it your entrepreneurial DNA. DNA stands for distinctive natural advantage. Every single person here, out there, whatever, has something that is unique about them. And the problem is that we don't often focus on what our strengths are that we already have. And I see people going out and building businesses and building brands not based on what they're already good at. So let me explain what I mean about distinctive natural advantage. It's composed of 3 parts. And the first is what I call your acquired mastery. So your acquired mastery is those skills that you have learned or you have acquired over your lifetime, whether it's your personal life or whether it's your business. Maybe it's a certification that you have, or maybe you've overcome something. So I like to use the example of weight loss. There's nobody here that's in the weight loss, okay? So let's say you've lost 100 pounds. You have learned how to overcome, you know, that weight issue. You've learned how to eat properly. You've learned how to exercise, and you've learned how to keep it off. That's an acquired skill. It's like somebody who has recovered from PTSD or anything like that. That's something that they have overcome. So that's your acquired mastery. The second is what I call demonstrated results. So these are the results, the tangible results, notice I use the word tangible results, that your clients can attest to. So if we take the acquired mastery and we take the weight loss person again, so he started to share some of his skills that he's learned with some clients, and he's getting these great results.
What's DRC?
Right?
What does DRC stand for?
Demonstrated results. Cool. And last but not least, we have what I call your effortless talents.
Your what?
Effortless talents. Your effortless talents, that's the thing that you do so effortlessly without thinking that your friends, your clients, the people that you know go, oh my God, Diana, how did you do that? You just made it look so simple. Your effortless talent is that thing that you probably don't recognize. Other people see it in you. You may not. It is also that thing that because we do it so easily, we undervalue. Always. I'd like to do a little exercise with you. I call it my Oprah exercise, but anyway. It's, I'd like you to think of somebody that you admire. Just kind of in your head, think of somebody that you admire. It could be living, dead, famous, your brother, your sister, You know, the person next to you. Okay? Think of that person. Everybody got somebody in mind? Awesome. Okay, now you can take that same piece of paper that you wrote on before, and I'd like you to write down maybe 3 qualities of this person that you admire. What are 3 qualities that you admire? And just, you know, keep it simple. One, you know, maybe it's their honesty, maybe it's their, you know, whatever. Just words that you admire. Next, I'm going to ask somebody to share. Okay, who would like to share who their person is and 3 qualities? Yes,
My
Lynn.
grandmother,
Yeah,
past, kind, most kind person, honest, hardworking, and incredible, well, work ethic, and she had a commitment to our family, like incredible grandmother.
awesome,
Yeah.
cool,
Really, totally, I think, shaped me.
nice,
Yeah.
nice. One more person to share. Yes, Laura.
JJ? Consistent, controlled, and kind.
Oh, nice.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, here's the thing. I'd like you to look at those 3 qualities that you wrote down. Look at them very carefully. You have those qualities. You cannot see in others what you do not have within. You
Yeah.
That was a trick. This model says I don't.
You cannot see in others what you do not have within. Effortless talents. Just, you know, it's not your effortless talent, but it's just a demonstration of that we don't always see what we have. So the intersection here of all these things is what we call your DNA. When you know your DNA, when you know what you're really good at, what your strengths are, then you can build a business and a brand using those strengths. Why is it when kids go to school, that, you know, Johnny gets a report card and it says, doesn't play well with others. You know, Johnny has to learn to play better with others. Or, you know, Johnny needs to improve his English. But Johnny's really good in math. Why not strengthen his math skills? He continues on to college and he gets the same thing. They focus on what he's not doing well. He goes to his career. You know, the job review focuses on what he's not doing well. We're conditioned that way. So I'm asking you to flip that around and think about what it is that you do well, or, you know, get some help to figure out what it is you do well, and build your business that way. It goes so much easier.
I always said, I get paid for what I used to get in trouble in school for.
I love it.
What is that?
That's another whole discussion.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I want to know later.
It is. So, you know, people who are stuck in hustle aren't focusing on what they do well. And when you can focus on what you do well, when you know what your state of business growth is, it's so easy to identify what activities you should be doing. So an example is a friend of mine who, Carl. Carl is a speaking coach for professionals who hate public speaking. And so as a speaking coach, he is also a broadcaster, radio broadcaster. And Carl was kind of stuck down here in hustle. And he was also, he's at this point, he's building his business because he's not doing it full time. And so when it came to increasing his connections and start building his tribe, some people might, he says to me, well, Diana, you know, everybody says I should be writing a blog. And I said, why should you be writing a blog? You're a speaker. Okay. So anyway, we talked, and so he's been doing Facebook Lives for the last year or so, and just started a podcast. Now that's just a very simplified demonstration of picking the right activity that's for him and the right activity for his stage of business growth. Okay, we're not quite done yet. If we want to get some traction, and if we want to get towards what we call the, that quality of life and that success, there's 3 mission critical elements that you need. The first one is a strategic roadmap, a plan, a strategy. People down here have no plan, no strategy, right? But all they're doing is picking pieces of the puzzle, and they're not putting them together in an overall plan or strategy. So I call it a roadmap. You need a roadmap. The second mission critical element is what I call a marketing mix. Your marketing mix is going to support your strategic roadmap. You're not allowed to answer this question. How many marketing tactics and strategies do you think there are out there?
Oh.
Okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to get into either groups of 3 or 4. Move your chairs. Get into groups of 3 or 4.
Whoa.
And we're going to do another little exercise, okay? So get your groups of 3 or 4, and one person from the group is going to be what I call the scribe. One person has to have a pen and paper.
That's too many.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, you're
Well, it's gonna take 3 here.
Oh, okay,
Take
we're-
3 there.
Oh, 3 there, okay, yeah,
Oh,
sure.
okay,
Sure.
who's,
You want me to
everybody
scribe?
needs, yeah.
Okay, so it's just 3, last 3, yeah. And I can scroll.
Okay,
Jennifer.
and if I can have hands up for the scribes. Every group has a scribe. Let's be a group. You're a group, okay, you're a scribe. What about you guys here? Okay, you good? All right, I don't have my timer, but I'll give you about 45 seconds. Oh, can you do that, Jen? Maybe 45 seconds to a minute, and the idea is that you're going to, the scribe is going to write down as many marketing tactics or strategies as the group can fire at them. On your mark, get set, go.
Telephone.
Including cold calling. Blog.
Okay,
Writing articles and podcasts.
okay, social media.
LinkedIn.
Emails.
Advertising, print and.
Meetup events.
Online, offline.
Ads. Sorry, can you go ahead?
Print
Ads,
ads.
newspaper.
Yellow pages.
This is cards.
Bulletin
Yep.
boards.
Market,
Website.
Speaking engagement.
Google ads.
Writing.
Okay.
Blast.
Yep.
Direct mail.
Okay.
Feel free to.
Conferences. Yep, conferences,
Networks.
Traditional advertising.
Yeah, that's it.
Car ads.
I know.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Charity development
Yeah.
databases, like your
They have your networking events.
updates, you know, program updates. I guess I overlapping.
Yeah. Volunteering.
What was that?
Referrals.
Testimonials.
So I'm very much too.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
That's how you can advertise.
Giveaways. I think you forgot to hit
Sponsorship.
the start.
Blogs.
That's okay.
Yep, signage.
Giveaways, t-shirts.
Okay, just a few more seconds, so keep writing fast.
Social media. Over there, there's social media. I'll ask.
I just didn't want to go on.
Is there anything else that you want to take away? Video. White space.
Email
There's a
listing.
street.
TV. No, I'm taking that. Straight up, just any networking.
Conference.
I mean, we have meetups and samples, examples.
Collaboration.
Okay, 5 seconds.
Yes.
Pens down.
Collaborate.
Okay, count up how many you've got.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
23.
Okay, if your group has more than 15,
That's
Pardon?
more than 15.
23
More
or
than
23.
15, 1
Oh,
5.
okay.
15, more than 15.
Oh, more than
Yeah.
More than 20. More than 25. 25. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Here, I don't know who was in your group, but there you go. Thank you.
Thank you. Separate these out. We could have 25 too.
Yeah, we can.
I doubled a few things.
Oh, you can come and
Put
get
social
some.
media platforms, we didn't even specify
Little
different
competitive
ones.
there, right?
The thing is that, you know, every time I do this exercise, you know, we get 25, we get 30, 35. No wonder entrepreneurs are confused about what to focus on, right? But when you know these and when you know this, it makes it so much easier to narrow down and figure out what to focus on. So your marketing mix needs to support your strategic roadmap, and it needs to, you know, it needs to be in alignment with your DNA and your stage of business growth. The last element that you need is what I call your primary differentiator. Hint is that your primary differentiator comes from here. Okay, that is the thing that you do so that you stand out from everybody else. It is the thing that you do that when you're speaking with prospects, in the back of their mind, they are asking, why should I hire you? And if you don't know the answer to that, then you need to find the answer to that, because that's what they're asking themselves every single time. So you need to know your primary differentiator, why they should pick you. Now, before we go back to those activities that you wrote down, everybody has a blue sheet of paper that I put on the table.
Do you have an extra?
I do. There's all kinds here.
Okay.
You got it? Yeah. And I have a gift called the 10 Essential Strategies. If you would like that, just tick it off. If you know, you'd like a growth strategy session, tick it off. Or if you know somewhere else that I could speak, tick it off. And just, you know, fill it out, and I'd be really appreciated, and I'll grab these at the end. So just a second or two to finish those. And I thank you for being a very engaging group here this morning. You have played well, even though it's early in the morning. All right, so I'll collect those at the end.
Can you remind me,
Yeah.
this, the Venn diagram you did, effortless talent, and then the other two I just
Okay.
missed.
Acquired mastery.
Okay.
I'm creating a video so that you can go back and demonstrated results and effortless talents. On my YouTube channel, I have a very draft video that's about 7 minutes long that kind of takes you through this quickly. Okay? All right, so let's take those activities that you wrote down that you did in your business yesterday.
Oh, yes.
And I just like, you know, this is more of a self-assessment than anything else. Were you stuck in hustle? Or were you doing activities that were your strength? Was it part of your acquired mastery? Was it part of your demonstrated results, your effortless talents? Were you doing activities that were appropriate for your stage of business growth? Just a question. Were you doing, you know, were you focused on your primary differentiator, your marketing mix that's good for you and part of a strategic roadmap? When we get all of these things, this is what I help entrepreneurs do. I help them figure out how to get out of hustle how to focus in on their DNA. God bless. And then their particular activities for their stage of business growth, and then we create a marketing strategy with the appropriate marketing mix. So, just to close up, DNA, I believe that this is the true building block of everything going forward. Why should we be out there building businesses that are not aligned with who we are? So, I recommend we go in before we go out. So thank you so much for